The cast of characters for this presentation, we're going to talk about Google Analytics. Attribution modeling is not a Google Analytics specific thing, but it is something that, that I'm going to give you some takeaways for just Google Analytics. If you don't use Google Analytics, it's not a big deal. We're going to get into Microsoft Excel as well. I wrote a guide for Excel. It's at that URL. If you feel like you're not so good at Excel, it was a kind of a beginner's guide all the way through kind of intermediate stuff. So check that out. And then there's me. So I live in Seattle. This was my commute today. I do SEO for Distilled. I do your typical SEO stuff, but I love data. I love making data-backed decisions, and that's what this is really about. I had a whole other intention for this slide to talk about how I come to work, and Rand has the same commute, and he has the Foursquare mayorships for the entire commute, basically. But what I really want to talk about is how this morning my commute was, I was at A, I came to B, I walked into this room and looked up and realized that I couldn't see shit, and I wasn't wearing my contacts. So I had to go from B to A to go put my contacts back on, and then A to B. So it was a rough morning, but I can see now, and that's good. And I want to introduce another member of this presentation. I think he's really important. He's kind of a mentor to me. He's just a really smart thing, and that's my dog, Space, who's going to be helping throughout the presentation. He does SEO. He's been doing it his whole life. He's 3 years old, which after conversion makes him a 21-year vet of SEO, probably more experience than anybody in this crowd. He works at Distilled, if you can call this working. That couch has a nice fine layer of space fur on it. Every once in a while we get him up, and we get him to do some work. So this is him doing that. He just kind of, we ask him to rank get a client ranking for a keyword. We tell him to put the headphones on, and he just asks for the Swedish techno, and he's just going. All right, so let's get into it. What is attribution modeling? So the textbook definition is something like this. It's going to come out of my head and not exactly memorized, but it's a way to assign value across the entire customer journey when we're calculating ROI, instead of the very simplistic model that we do now. But I'll give you an example here, and I think that'll probably clear things up even more. So let's follow a regular conversion path. This isn't a real conversion path, but it's a very realistic conversion path. So let's say that this is an SEO Moz conference ticket, so a very high value item, like $1,500 or whatever it is. The first touch, the first exposure to SEOmoz.org is a referral from Search Engine Land. They click a link from a blog post maybe about SEO conferences. Then there's an organic search for SEO conference. Then there is a referral from Twitter, a direct visit, a paid advertisement click, a branded organic search for SEO Moz conference, a direct visit, and finally a purchase. Who gets the credit in this scenario? You can make a case for a lot of them, especially those top three, I think. That first referral, like if you are maybe a startup and you're just trying to get exposure and try to get people to talk about you, this is really awesome. Maybe that's what you want to celebrate. Perhaps you're doing SEO, and particularly you're doing SEO for the keyword SEO conference. You want people to come to the site from that. Or perhaps your company is working on increasing your social presence, and 3 is the big one for you. But the truth is, in Google Analytics and many other analytics packages, what's actually happening is the 7th touch point is the one getting all of the credit. So $1,500 worth of the credit is being assigned to that keyword in the organic medium. And that sucks. So this is what it looks like kind of when you look at the multi-channel funnels reports, which we'll get into. There's a lot of overlay. There's a lot of things going on to get the customer to your site and to buy something. So there's a lot of layers, essentially. There's a lot of things going on for the customer. The customer journey is not linear, and we have the tools now to actually track that and understand things. That's what we're trying to solve. And what it really is about true ROI. And let me just say this now for SEOs. If you're coming up against budget restraints, whether you're talking about internally or you're bumping up against other departments, or you are at an agency and you want more money from your clients, this is how you're showing that. Because attribution modeling very often helps SEO out quite a bit. So we'll get into that a little bit too. Social, too, is really well involved in this. So this is why it's hard. attribution modeling is because of cookies. Because cookies crumble. People clear their cookies, they use other browsers, they browse from their friends' houses, they use other devices, they have offline interactions with your brand, and that primary key, the cookie, falls apart. So we can't really track across that whole thing. And we never really will, and that's why I said truer ROI, that R there, because it's not exactly, it's never going to be perfect. We can't really do that. We basically need something that's our eyes and our ears at all times, tracking every single interaction we have with a brand. And this isn't exactly what I think they're going for with Google Glass, but it's very possible that they're going to get a lot of data about the people wearing these glasses and the interactions people are having with brands, and that could be really valuable to some companies. I don't think this is actually going to happen. I'm not really serious about it, but I think it's kind of interesting to think about. So let's do some modeling. This is where we'll learn the typical models that people use in attribution modeling and the way they're spreading out the conversion path and learning more about it. I want to point out that in case you can't see it, Space has a piece of grass sticking out of his mouth, like a farmer. So this is let's take a simpler conversion path. Organic, direct, social, referral, and direct. 5 interactions. And we'll take a normal, well, not really normal, we'll take a $1,000 conversion here. So keep it nice and even. What we've been doing is the last non-direct. This is what Google does in Google Analytics. And in this case, as hopefully we've figured out, referral is the one that's going to get all $1,000 of that credit. Some people do absolute last touch. Like you can call this an attribution model. It's very simplistic, but you can do this. And this is the closer. He's only interested in the last touch, absolutely, no matter what it is. In this case, direct is going to get $1,000 worth of credit. You've seen Glenn Ross. Alec Baldwin would love this. This is his favorite model, always be closing. The opposite side is the Madonna, like a virgin, first touch. This is where the first interaction you're having with a brand is the one that we're giving all the credit to. So in this case, organic's getting all the credit. And what do the rest get? A set of steak knives. No, but seriously, here's Madonna. So this is where we get a little more complex, and hopefully it makes a bit more sense, because now we're actually looking at more than just one touch point. We're calling this one the Oprah because she's giving things out to everyone. Everyone in this conversion path is getting $200, including direct, which gets it twice, because it's in there twice. Have you guys seen this? Watch the move that Oprah does to end this. It's incredible. That's good, too. It's amazing. So back at it. I have to make this a little interesting because it's theory. So U-curve is another thing. Sometimes it's called position-based, and it makes sense, too. This is where we're taking the first touch and the last touch, and they're getting most of the credit, and then we're spreading out some of it in the middle. And I call it the Beavis and Butthead because it's like the rock symbol, also for the Kate Morris in the crowd, the Longhorns, if you're a Longhorn. But so in this scenario, a very common way to do it is 40% for the first touch, 40% for the last touch, and 20% spread out among all the rest in the middle. And that's what that's going to end up looking like for this particular touch point, or this particular conversion path. There's Butthead doing the international sign for the U-curve attribution model. Time decay. So this is I call it the cell phone bars. This one's weak. I'm sorry. I couldn't think of anything else for it. But what we're actually doing here is taking time into account. And as you get further away from the conversion, you're assigning less and less as it passes down. And so it's going to end up looking like this. And not to go too far into it, but generally, you're going to have that look. And this is how it's going to look here. And so I feel bad about putting a table on a slide. And it's not that important, like the overall concept of it. But just look at how different things are in this. And that's why I put a sleepy space up there. I'm sorry. But look at how different these are. Take that first one over there on the left, and now look at the ones that are actually looking at the whole thing, the ones on the right, and linear and U-curve and time decay. This is a screenshot from Google Analytics Premium, which has an attribution modeling tool in it. I want to point this out real quick. These are real numbers. They have a percent change that you can look at between the different models. Percent change from last non-direct click in this example. This is a very basic example that I just pulled up. Percent change from last non-direct click, which is what we use regularly, versus the more complex models, time decay and position-based. Some of them are almost 50% different. If you think that, like, if you don't see that and say that something's going wrong with the way we're calculating ROI if we're doing last click, then I think that that's really important. That kind of exemplifies it right there. I also just quickly want to mention that a lot of enterprise businesses, people get into more complex modeling and they do custom things, and that might mean you you assign less credit to direct, or you assign more credit to social if that's the kind of initiatives that are going on at your company. So now we're going to get into Google Analytics, and we're going to get into Google Analytics in the fashion that we can all do something with, because this is default stuff. It's in your Google Analytics. So Google Analytics released multi-channel funnels about a year and a half ago. I don't remember exactly, but something like that. And we all have that. And we can use it to figure out the first step to whether or not we have an attribution problem. Space drinking his Bloody Mary. He's got a problem. The path length report is a report that you can go look at right now to find out if this is something you should be looking into more. This report shows you the number of interactions that are taking place for a conversion. If, by chance, you have 80 or 90% of your conversions taking place after one interaction, you don't really have an attribution problem. You have a very simplistic customer journey, which is fine, but it's also extremely rare. I think that for the most part, it's going to look like this for you guys, where like 50% of the conversions are taking place after a couple interactions. And so that's where that complexity starts coming in, where we have to start giving more credit to the other guys. I also want to point out that if you're going to go home and do this, you have to make sure that you, by default, if you have goals set up, you have to make sure that you're looking at a monetary goal. E-commerce transaction works great for this. But if you have like non-monetary goals, like contact forms or events or things like that, that's going to kind of mess up the numbers. So make sure you're doing that. They also have the conversion segments in these reports, and these are awesome because advanced segments, and everybody knows, Avinash always talks about it, he's right, Avinash Kashi is always talking about the importance of segmentation. And this you can do conversion segmentation, really. So one thing that I do at Distilled is I want to look at purchases over $500. I want to look at the people who are spending a lot of money and analyze their path. I want to talk about this report because it's probably the best report in the in the multi-channel funnels, which again, we all have. This is a report for, first of all, this is a slide for anybody that does social in this room. I just want to point that out. This is a report that will break down your last interaction conversions compared to the assisted. So take that middle column and look at the last interaction conversions, and then take a look at the assisted conversions numbers, specifically for social network. Look at the difference between that. What we normally track has last interaction for social at 5 conversions for $100. When we look at it, looking at the whole path and looking at assists, 104 with more than $3,000 worth of credit going to it. That's your ROI for social right here. I also want to talk about that ratio on the side because it's a cool ratio. It gives you a nice snapshot view of how these channels interact. So as you have channels at 0, a ratio of 0, that means it's acting in a closer role. That's the bottom of the funnel there. If it's at 1, that means they're acting in an equally assist or last interaction role. Anything higher than that, and they're mostly assisting. And so 20 is a really high ratio. It's honestly the highest I've ever really seen. So it's a nice snapshot view of how some of these channels might be acting as an assist. This is a report that looks pretty, and it feels like Google wants it to be the big report, like the cool report that you're looking at, but it's kind of shitty. Like it's pretty, but it doesn't, I don't know what you can get out of this. I don't think there's much you can get from just looking at this. Space hates it. So Space yells at me whenever I look at this report. And he's right to. He's right to. And he'll yell at you. So I want to encourage you all to go custom with these because Google does a good job with those basic channels, but they're not perfect. And they can't make one size fit all for all businesses. So you must do this. These are the custom channel groupings. So you make your own channels based on your business, and you separate things out that way, and you look at it. And I'm going to show you what we do for Distilled, and hopefully give you an idea. SEO Moz is right at the top there. And Distilled, there's no secret, Distilled and SEO Moz share a lot of traffic. We send traffic back and forth very often. Normally, SEO Moz is falling into the referral bucket, and that's not really fair. SEO Moz is a very different type of relationship. It's a very different type of referral. I can imagine many scenarios in which your businesses would have something similar to that. That's what you do. And take them out of referral, give them their own bucket, or bucket them in some other type of high-end referral group. Affiliates, this is something Google couldn't give you by default, but you can do it yourself. You should be tracking whether or not affiliates are taking possibly too much credit by showing up early in the conversion path. They're going to take the credit. They're going to take the money from you. But this is how you find that out. It's very possible your affiliates are very early in the conversion path. And I want to highlight the next 3. First, stupid, not provided. You kind of have to have that in there. But non-branded organic and branded organic search, these are like the must-do of these reports, of this customization. So take the example earlier where we had the SEO conference keyword and then the SEO Moz conference keyword later, with the SEO Moz conference keyword getting all of the credit. Doing this, you can see that that SEO conference keyword actually really did help to make this happen. And you can put this in your reports. I had to cover up the data with a picture of space, but you can put this in your reports, and you look at the assists, and you're going to find some really great stuff in there. So I'm going to talk briefly about Google Analytics Premium. I'm assuming that we don't all have it here, and probably very few of us have it here. We're talking about $150,000 a year. But what they do have, which is really, really cool, is an attribution modeling tool built in. So we haven't actually been doing attribution modeling. We've been doing just multi-channel funnels, looking at assists. This is a tool that allows you to do attribution modeling on the fly. You can make changes really quick. You can look at the different models. You can compare, and it's really awesome. If you have GA Premium, do this. I swear it'll uncover some goldmine for you, some data nuggets for you. But I was a little upset by the fact that that's just for Premium, so I built something for the team here, for everybody here. And I have to say that, do you guys know home improvement? I really wanted to make this slide like transition, like they used to do the transitions, where like a hammer would hit like the screen and then like come down to the next. I spent like 2 hours trying to get it to happen. So while Space wasn't looking, I started looking at that report that previously we said sucks, and Space yells at me for, which is the conversion path report. And I was thinking that if this conversion path report could show us every single conversion path, then couldn't we then just export it, put it into Excel, and do our modeling on top of it? And the answer is yes. So that's why I built this tool. It's an Excel spreadsheet that has macros and stuff. And basically, I'm going to walk you through how it works really quick. The instructions are in the file. But you can do attribution modeling right now. So it's not something that you need $150,000 a year to do. It's something that you can actually learn from right now. These are just the steps really quick so you know how it works. Again, the instructions are in the file. But you need to show all of your conversion paths. You need to then make sure that you're looking at the right conversions. E-commerce transactions works great for this. You need to make sure all your rows are visible, so you're setting that to 500. And as I said before, you really want to be doing custom channels. And then you want to export into Excel, drop it into the tool, and hit go. And then you have your attribution models. So you have the ones that we've been talking about all just broken out for you. It's going to take like 30 seconds, and you can do it now. There are some shortcomings to something like this. First of all, Google Analytics only allows for a 30-day look back. Now, I think that's probably fine for most of you. That means that from the point of conversion, they're only giving you the data 30 days before. I would think that most of us don't have sales cycles that are longer than 30 days. If it does, that kind of sucks, but it's possible Google will make that longer in the future. Also, I'm sorry, it doesn't work on Mac, the Mac Excel, and I'm a Mac fanboy, so it kind of sucks, but Excel for Mac does suck. It's pretty bad. So what we're looking at here is truer ROI. We've gotten it. We're looking at the whole customer journey. For SEOs, if you're coming up against budget restraints or you want more money, you need to prove that the efforts that you've been putting in to work on these non-organic searches, or non-branded searches, I'm sorry, you need to prove that these are actually bringing you something. The effort that you're putting in is bringing a return. And it's very possible your stuff is being stolen. You're being stolen by later channels in the funnel. And I want to take it a step further and do some mini modeling. So we were looking previously at the whole picture, but what we can actually do here is look at channel specific. So AdWords is a great example. We haven't talked about paid search at all, but AdWords is a great example because you can take those expensive general keywords that you're spending a lot of money on, that the ROI doesn't seem to be there, and put them in their own bucket and kind of break this down by the funnel, like how likely they're going to convert. Branded, obviously, is going to have not very much traffic. It's going to cost very little, but it's going to convert like crazy. And then you have product categories. You can have mini stores and things like that. And so you have that set up in Google Analytics multi-channel funnels. It'll look something like this in this report, which, again, kind of sucks, but at least it's a little pretty. But then you dump it into the tool and hit go, and now you have this. And just like real quick to look at these numbers, Take a look at like product category, the product category bucket. The last touch, what we've been looking at is $77,000 worth of revenue. When we look at the whole journey, position-based and time decay, like the more honest, full path numbers, look how much better it's doing. I mean, that's something that you should know. If you're making your decisions on how much you're going to spend on these campaigns, that's something that you should know. Even the general high funnel. I mean, it's not killing it, but it goes from $1,500 of conversion credit down to, or up to $4,000, $3,000. And it's important. It's pretty important. And so we can do SEO-specific stuff. You can look at specific keywords. Have you ever been in a situation where you've worked on a set of keywords, and maybe you succeed and you get a lot of traffic, but they're not exactly converting for you. They're not actually bringing in traffic that converts. It's very possible that they are actually helping you out with conversions, but you're getting people up high in that funnel. This is how you find that out. This is how you find that out. If you have keywords that have a ton of traffic, that people are coming in and maybe just being exposed to your brand, but not exactly converting then, this is how you're doing that. You can do long tail analysis like this. So it's pretty easy to just do some regex and get this broken down by the number of keywords that are in a key phrase, and do it this way. And it's very possible you're going to learn something that way as well. And finally, you can do referral analysis, like more specific referral analysis. You noticed before that Distill did SEO Moz as a separate referral. I think that the action item here might be that if you find that there are some folks who are sending you traffic that doesn't convert right away, but they're really exposing you to the type of visitors that will convert and ultimately are providing you value, this is where you find that out. This is where you find that out, and then you go and you like try to do a paid promotion with them, or try to do an ongoing guest blog series or something like that. Get in front of the people that are actually your customers. So I start to wrap up, but this is about smarter budget allocation. This is a study that Google Analytics and eConsultancy did, where they showed that companies that put attribution modeling into place, 65% of them actually increased spending. So this isn't about paring down. This isn't about like knocking out the losers. This is about actually having the confidence to invest in things that you previously didn't know were killing it. And this is how you find it. It's smarter decision making. In that same study, and this is a kind of a hard graph to understand, but I'll explain it really quickly. The left side of that graph is primarily the people in this room. They benefit like crazy. This is SEO, paid search marketing, social media marketing. Budgets increase when companies do this. I don't think I'm offending anybody in the room, but it's the old media that kind of suffers when you do this sort of thing. Budget is being reallocated from that section over to our digital media in general. So it's smarter online marketing, and I think that this is the whole thing here. You might just be in SEO, and you might just be in social, but having a full idea of that customer journey gives you a leg up on your competition, your colleagues, if you're trying to move up. You want to move into a higher management role. This is the kind of thing that gets you there. You're having a fuller understanding of the whole journey. So I gave you a tool. I think it's pretty simple to use. It might break, but I think you should go and play with it. I'd love to know how it works for you and whether or not you found anything cool with it. And have fun. That's it.
I think you forgot a slide at the end for the SPCA and how to, get your own.
There were no animals
space.
hurt during the. Okay.
No, to adopt. Such a cute dog.
I have to take a picture.
Everybody smile. Everybody look up. That worked. Okay, your first one right there.
Hi. Which call tracking solution works best to bake into Google Analytics to get effective attribution?
I've heard Mongoose is really good. That's really the only one that I've had experience with, and we've not had issues with it when we've implemented in the past. That's what I'd say.
Okay.
Hi. First off, I just wanted to say I'm over here. Straight.
Oh, hey.
Wave your hands. There he is. First off, I just want to say that was a fantastic presentation. When I saw the title, I was like, please be useful, please be useful, please be useful, and it was. So thank you so much for that.
Awesome.
One question I had, so you were showing like the multi-channel funnel report, and you're talking about how it kind of looks nifty, but it isn't that useful.
Yep.
Do you think there's any opportunity to actually derive actionable insights from that, or is it just kind of a vanity graphic that Google gives us?
The only way that you're going to get something from that is if you segment the crap out of it, I think. And perhaps if you customize it with your own channels and things like that too. But again, it's like, you can either take a look at you have 10 rows of just kind of messy noise. I really don't think there's much you can get from it, to be honest. But again, if you do segment, it's very possible you're going to get something out of it.
Hey.
Hi.
This is slightly off topic. This is about display advertising attribution. So we do a lot of display advertising, and the question that we get asked is, what volume within display advertising should we actually attribute? Like we have post-click conversions, post-view conversions. Would the customers have come back anyways, or are they coming back because of display advertising? So do you have any insights on display advertising attribution?
My insights is that it's difficult. You have a hard time getting impression data into this sort of modeling. Very often when you need to get impressions involved and figure out where that's taking place, you're talking about a very complex, like big-ass database that you're putting things in together. There are services out there that'll help you with that, but really it is a very difficult thing to do. I don't particularly have a single thing that you can do about that besides investing in possibly an attribution modeling tool or service that they do exist out there.
Hi.
Hi.
So I've logged into Google Analytics, and I'm looking at the top conversion paths, and it's just showing direct for me. Is there something I did?
Just direct.
Just direct.
That's not right.
Yeah, clearly.
That ain't right. Are your regular reports okay?
Yep. Everything's fine. And I've Googled it and can't find an answer.
How about I look at it after?
Cool, thanks.
It's hard to know.
Thanks. Thanks for that talk. That was great.
Thanks.
My understanding is that the last interaction conversions in the multi-channel funnel report should be the same numbers as all the goals and conversions in all the other reports. Is that
Yes.
right?
So that's not actually true. I left that out because I thought it was a little confusing. But the way it actually works is, in your regular reports, it's the last non-direct click. So that's what we covered that. Like when you're looking at the keyword report, it's last non-direct click. When you go to multi-channel funnels, it's absolute last click. So in that case, that's why your numbers sometimes don't look the same. But it is confusing, and it's hidden in the help file somewhere. I was very confused by it at first.
Here. My users need more than 1 month to buy my products. The products that I am selling are more than $5,000, euros.
Yeah.
And when I get a report, I only see organic and direct. And I use in a lot of channels.
Yeah.
What can you recommend? I use Intelliad, do you know that? So for SEA, and they can give me very good reports, but only for 1 month. I can see also the keywords.
Yeah.
But for a reports for a product who needs more than 1 month, what do you recommend?
Oh, I honestly don't have an answer for you. Google is not the answer. That 30-day look back is solid.
Yes, bad.
Yeah, so it's going to have to be something else. And it's not even Google Analytics Premium. It's not like I can tell you to get that. So, like I said earlier, I don't remember any of their names off the top of my head. I meant to look them up, but there are services out there that do more complex modeling that might be what you're looking for. And I think if you have a Google around for attribution modeling tools or services, I mean, it might end up being expensive, but when you have, obviously you're talking about a high value here, and that's probably really important to do this. So it's very cool that you still want to do it, even though this tool doesn't quite work for you. I think that you should look it up on Google and check out what some of those services are.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question here, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks for the presentation. It was great.
Thanks.
question I have, and there may not be a short answer to this, but obviously the different attribution models show different values, right, for the different channels. Is there a good way to figure out which one may be telling the best story for your business?
Yeah. I think that some of them benefit the more exposure-focused businesses, the early stage businesses. So even though first touch is really simplistic, it could be that you're in the stage where you just care about getting people to your site. So in some cases, that's good. And in that same case, it's possible that U-curve, which is going to really value that first touch, is better than like time decay because you're decaying that basic first touch out of the calculation. So it does depend on the business. If you're in a regular stage, you're in the middle stage of your business, I think U-curve is probably the best, just because it does. I mean, you do like that last click and that first click. But yeah, and you know what? And the other answer too, if you're an SEO, do the one that makes you look good. Do the one that makes SEO look better. I didn't really touch on this. Well, I did touch on it, but it's really important that with attribution modeling, like 80% of this room, 90% of this room, if you do this, you're going to look better. Like, attribution modeling favors SEO and social a lot. So yeah. Yep.
I work a lot in the nonprofit sphere with fundraisers and stuff. And obviously there's a lot of direct mail in that.
Yeah.
Is there an easy way in Google Analytics, or is it more in enterprise level solutions, to integrate like Salesforce or donor management systems to see how users who are utilizing social media perform in direct mail?
I wouldn't think that Google Analytics is going to allow that too easily unless you're doing things like tracking URLs, specific URLs that will show up as, you put the URL on the direct mail, people come to it that way, and then you could track it through that means. But no, I don't think there's an easy solution to that. It could very well be an enterprise thing that you're looking at. All done?
One more, way over here.
One more.
Hi.
Hi.
I work in business-to-business software, so in the inbound marketing team, and kind of along the same lines, our sales cycle takes a really long time.
Yeah.
And we have some other tools like Marketo that does campaign influence reports that are really crazy.
Yeah.
But that's not really my area. So I'm wondering, just as a social media manager type role, if maybe the smaller goals that we reach along the way, little like micro conversions, signing up for our blog, or signing up for a free edition, that a lot of times those do convert on social media, and that's what I'm interested in.
Sure.
But we don't have dollar amounts assigned. Are there any tips for, I would like to use your tool as well, just being on that side, what can I do to set up those goals that do happen in 30 days?
Well, you can talk, I guess, to the marketing team and try to find out what they feel like the value of a new sign-up is, or a new email or RSS subscriber is, and set that up as a goal value. And that will funnel into these reports so you can use it. So if it turns out that your an email sign-up or an RSS subscribe is $1, you set that up in the goals in Google Analytics, and that's going to come into these reports. So that's how I'd suggest using it. But you probably do want to talk to the marketing team and figure out what the value of that is to you. I mean, it could be like 50 cents. I don't really know, but it does depend on each different business.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.